What's up, YouTube? So we got the intake on the wagon, valve covers. Now, as you can see, it's got a 600 carburetor on it right now. I ran it with the 750 already, and this is going to be next. I was trying to get it done tonight, but I got to prime the fuel system, and it's too noisy to crank it over and get the carburetor to fill up, because right now it's 12 o'clock in the morning. So we're going to try that probably tomorrow night. But the valve covers, intake's on, we ran it. So let's go in the garage and discuss what it did. Alright, so I wrote it all down on cardboard as per usual. So we're gonna go over what it did before, what it did when we first got it, and what it does now. My hair is crazy. Looking rough, I'm tired. Been a long day. Alright, let's get to it. So we got the stock intake, the 750 and the spacer. Our best pass was a 1598 at 86.49 with a 245 60 foot and a 1035 at 70.46 in the eighth. Try to prop this thing up. This bench is filthy. I've been doing a bunch of crap out here, so I apologize for the it's not being prepared. There we go. Hopefully it stays there. Now, the DA was a positive 251 feet at 58 degrees on this pass. So that's a pretty decent temp and DA. Negative is always ideal. That's always going to be faster. When you have a positive DA, the more positive it is, the slower the car usually goes, especially when the temp is hotter. So that's what makes the intake a little bit more impressive, because it went faster in crappier weather. So our first pass, the upper radiator hose blew off. As you can see, I left a little cliff note over there. Just didn't feel 100% right. I'm not sure what the problem was. But when a 242 60 foot, so 60 footed, the best 60 foot I'd ever put down on this pass. When a 1032, 70.98 in the eighth, which isn't a huge, 1035, 70.46. Picked up a little mile an hour in the eighth and went a little bit faster in the eighth. And in the quarter, went a 1586 at 88.02 mile an hour. So he picked up, I guess we could say about almost a little more than 1.5 mile an hour. And it picked up a tenth, a little bit over a tenth right between these two. That's at 73 degrees with a 1475 DA. Came back home, put the upper radiator hose back on, filled it up with water, and let the car sit for a little bit. And we went back out and put the personal best with the wagon. Put it down, 248, spun a little bit here. 10.23 at 71.49 mile an hour. We'll have to check that. And then, 71.49. That's right. And then 1578 at 88.38. So picked up a little bit of mile an hour. Picked up a lot to the eighth. talking half a mile an hour. But that's a good amount for just making another pass. But you can see it dropped 2 degrees. 1304 DA this time. And it spun. So we still have probably about a tenth in the 60 foot. That's what, 6/100ths of a second. So there's a tenth in that right there. So that would be a 1568, just about, give or take a few. And with this DA down to here, if we had this day here, this would be probably in the 60s, possibly a 50. If we can get this 60 foot and this DA. I mean, we started here. 269, 1681, 83, 1089 in the 8th with a 66.74 mile an hour. And now we're here. And all we did was intake, carburetor, timing. And it's on a taller tire. So if I really wanted to, I could put a shorter tire on it, and this will go even faster. We're going to try that 600 and see what happens with that. 600 might really wake it up, and it might not. So we're going to try it and find out. I'm trying to prop this thing up so you guys can clear shot of me. There we go. So after seeing the 78 pass under the conditions that we have, I'm satisfied with that. I said if it would go a 70, I'd be happy in crap weather. Now, I said that I thought it could go possibly into the 50s, and I think once we get it where it hooks, it not having a posi really sucks. If I had a posi, it would hook on wet grass. But that open end rear, it wants to spin. So I'm going to do a little bit more playing around with tire pressure to try to get it to 60 better. I have to do a little burnout. Mind you, I'm not on a track. I'm on a regular street. You know, that you literally you cross over a set of railroad tracks and drive, you know, probably 1/8 of a mile up. And that's where I'm making passes on the way to my house. So, literally, the car gets up to temp by the time I get there. It gets to about 150 degrees. If I start out cold here, get there, it's about 150 degrees. And I can make a pass with it. So, like, that's how close it is to the house. I try to make one up and then one coming back. This was both coming back. The one up that I did, it's a mess out here. Sometimes traffic is rough, and I'm trying to do this, you know, there's regular traffic coming down the road and stuff, and I'm trying to keep distance between people that are in front of me and all that stuff, so sometimes you can't make a full quarter-mile pass like that. But on the passes coming back, there wasn't anybody around, so I was able to, you know, get it done. An 80 mile an hour isn't crazy, so people do 80 down that road. I've seen it constantly, so I'm not no rebel, so to speak. But that's what we got with this. So picked up 2/10 to the T, almost 2 full mile an hour. Actually, didn't realize how close the mile an hour was. And we even went a slower 60 foot on the fast pass compared to the fast pass with the stock intake on it. So, I mean, that 60 foot, I told you guys before how important that is. If we can get it back down to that 2.42 or even into the 2.3s, this thing, it's not a rocket, but it'll wake up. You know, you'll see a 1560 out of it right there if I can get a 2.38 60 foot. You know, actually, that would be a 50. It should pick up 2/10. Usually a 1/10 in your 60 is 2 up top. If you watch my videos, you already know that by now, if you never know it before. But, So if we can get a 238 60 foot, if I can get that thing where it just hooks and goes and doesn't spin a lick, be good. That 600 carburetor might do it. That should give it more torque. As long as it don't, you know, spin the tire off of it. But like I said, I'm going to play with tire pressure a little bit. I dropped the drive tire down some. I held it for about 30 seconds twice, so about a minute. You know, that's probably about 10 pounds of pressure. I didn't even bring a gauge. I just used the pen to let the tire pressure out. So that's kind of where we're at. If you catch my drift. Like, there's still some left in it, really playing with it and dialing the car in. You know, I could probably play with jetting, things like that, if I really want to get every little hundredth out of the car. 2/10 might not seem like a lot out of what we have. It's really more than 2/10 considering the DA. If you take that into consideration at all, it's probably 3/10. I'd be willing to say that it'll go a 68 in cooler weather. Like I already said, we're going to try the 600, see what that does, compare the DA, the temperature, all that. See where we end up with the 600. If the 600 is faster, we'll keep the 600 on it, and then we'll see what it, if I don't get to the strut towers and the stick shift swap and the temperature starts to drop off again, and we can get a 58 degree day, or 58 degrees and a good DA, then we'll see what it does. But I'm not making no promises. So that's the update on that, what the intake did. 2/10. We've seen it. It's proven. So it picked up. It went a 70, or into the 70s, I should say. It's got more left in it, as we can see, because we've already been proven to go a faster 60 foot time, 242. The draggy is hard on 60 foot because there's no rollout. So it's not like when you have a tree, you know, you have that rollout and then it starts timing. It counts, if you move an inch, it starts counting. So that 60 foot, I'm going to say, is accurate as far as being consistent in measuring the time. So I'm going to say that it's not like a fluke that it went a 242 and then a 248. I'm going to say it's pretty on point with how it's picking up the time and measuring it. And that goes for the quarter mile. I mean, these things are usually, I mean, you're talking thousandths, like 2,000ths of a second. So they're pretty accurate. I discussed this before. That's why I'm comfortable with using it and saying that the car runs a 1570, because they are on point. It's kind of impressive how accurate they actually are. I've been over the draggy thing with you guys. I should probably make an actual video just dedicated to that. But that pretty much sums it up as far as that goes. Hold tight for 1 minute. We got some goodies. If you're a car guy, you probably already know what's in the box. Most likely, that's all that's watching this video, the car guys. But if you're new to the car scene and you're not into old school motors, you know, might be a different shaped box that holds 2 or 4. We got a camshaft for the wagon. Wasn't exactly what I wanted, but the price was right. If you ever hear me say that, and if you know me, you know what that means. That means free. It's small. It's a Steeda 19 cam. It's 480 lift on both sides. It's got split duration. I want to say it's 220, 230, somewhere around there. I think 228 and 236 possibly, something like that. 115 lobe separation angle, which I wanted something a little like a 112 would have been nice. I really wanted a bigger cam. Messaged one guy about a Lenati, but he was firm on his price, and I just don't want to spend X amount on a used camshaft. If I can get something cheap, you know, 100, even 150 bucks. But he was over that by the time shipping and all was included. He didn't want to ship it for 150. So, you know, I got this for free. I posted on Facebook. A buddy of mine had it. He said, if you want it, come get it. You know, if I need a hand with something later on in the future or whatever, he said, just, you know, just remember me. All right. They're deals I like. So, cam's actually rather expensive. This is like a $500 camshaft. I'm not sure why, but these are typically used in like, they're designed for SN95 car, like a 94 to 95 Mustang. That way they work with the computer and, you know, it doesn't throw it all out of whack and overload with fuel and all the stupid crap, hence the lobe separation angle. So it's like a good little upgrade for something like that. I thought about maybe trying to trade my rockers that I bought for 1.7s, putting them on this, because that would probably help it. That'll put it 480, put it around like 510, about 30 thousandths, which is right where I'd actually like it to be at. So I'm like really on the fence of getting like a 1.7 rocker. Something we might be able to try later. You know, if money starts getting a little bit better or something like that, or if somebody donates a set, I'd be willing to try it. Take the 1.6 roller rockers and put the 1.7s on with this cam, something like that. See what difference it makes, even if it's somebody says, hey, you want to try them? Here, just give them back or something. I'd be willing to do that as long as I have the time to do it. Because it would be neat to see the difference between rockers on this cam, because I actually think this cam might like a 1.7 on it. Could be wrong. And then I could try them split, 1.6, 1.7. Try the intake, try the exhaust, you know. Mix it up a little bit and see what works. That's how you learn and, you know, figure it out. And you see what that engine likes and what that combination likes, and you learn, okay, the details that you need to know for a combination that fits that. So that's how you do it. You play with stuff. So don't be scared to play with it. It's like this right now. I got the 4-hole spacer on it. I know that 4-hole works with that intake and an automatic, especially with not having a converter in it. So me taking that spacer off and trying that, or even taking the insert out, I'm not going to say it's not worth it, because I see what that setup likes. But it's kind of common knowledge at this point, because I've tried different intakes. I've tried using those intakes with a 4-hole open. The accelerator, I can tell you right now, an accelerator doesn't care if it's got a 4-hole. It actually slows down with the 4-hole. But the open and no spacer, it ran the same on a stock setup. The 4-hole, if I remember right, might have 60 a little bit harder, but it lost the mile an hour. So, like, when it went slower, I don't even want to say it was a tenth, but it was like, it was slower. So, we were just like, yeah, put no spacer, I guess. Whatever is easier to work on, do it that way. Do it that way, basically. But going off of that, if you have a scoop or something, and that scoop is under the hood, it's obviously going to help it being raised, you know, like a Lexan scoop. So then you'd probably want to run the spacer, because then it might actually help. You're forcing air into the engine. That 1 inch is going to give you that plenum volume that it wants, which is weird because the accelerator has a very small plenum on it. But you know, I saw it. We tested it, we tried it, we did it, and we saw the results. So I think the last time we ran it was with the spacer off, and we were just like, yeah, not even going to put it back on. But getting back to the wagon, when I do the strut towers, I will put the cam in it. The roller rockers will go on it, and the stick shift will go in it. I really don't want to put a rear in this car before I put the stick in it, because it already hates RPM going down the highway. I don't know if the fan's not ideal enough for it. That's another thing I really need to change. So I'll probably change that before and take it from there to see how the temperature does driving it. But this thing, when I took it down the highway, hated it. The temp just wanted to go over. So I'm not sure if there was a problem there, if the fan wasn't adequate, what the deal was. I would think doing 65 mile an hour, a fan isn't really going to, mechanical fan isn't really going to do a whole lot with the RPM low, because of that gear. I mean, that thing's spinning probably 1800 RPM at 60, maybe 2200. But if I put like the gear I want to put in it, that thing is going to be screaming through the roof. So, and I'm even on the fence about putting the gear I want. I want to put 430s with the stick, but set of 373s on the shelf. I thought about maybe using them, which is kind of against my grain, but because I'm a gear guy, I like a lot of gear. And I kind of want to show you guys how it is. And down the highway, the 430s aren't bad on the 28. So, anyway, a side of me wants to put the rear in it and see what it does, to see how much it helps out, which I already know along the lines of what it's going to do. It'll probably pick up a second. It's pretty safe to say that. So that 1570, if we get that any better, it's going to go a second from there. 430 is going to be a lot with that. No converter in it. It might end up liking it somewhat, but it'll probably go from like a 240, 60 foot down to like maybe a 1.9. Might be able to get it in the 1 second territory, 1.9, 1.8. If I want to put a converter in it, that's another second. But the stick is why I want so much gear in it. It's going to keep it together and make it last a little bit longer. Easier to spin it. It's easier on drivetrain. So, and it will work with the setup. All motor will work well. This cam's supposed to be good, I think, from like 2300 to 6000. The intake's supposed to be off idle to 6000. Moving that up with the spacer, it's probably about 500 RPM or so with the 1 inch. So, you know, probably you could say 500. Well, idle would be, I guess, about 800. So you could say like 1200 RPM or whatever, 1300 RPM to 65, whatever that ends up being. With the stick, that won't matter because we'll be leaving at over 6. So, when I do the rear, I want to put suspension in it since I'm there already, because I'll just rip the bolts out of with the control arms and just drop the control arms and all and pull the whole rear out. So I'm trying to come up with a plan to put a rear together, get it in the car, and then put either do the rear first, then the 5-speed swap, or do the 5-speed swap and then the rear. I guess we'll find out as time goes on, but next video hopefully will be that 600 carburetor. If I have to rebuild it, then I will. Has been sitting for since the 55's been down, because that's the carburetor off the 55 Bel Air. So if I have to, I think I got a kit here. I'll throw a kit in it, spray it, clean it, the whole 9, and then try to make a pass with it, see what it does, if it needs the rebuild. Tomorrow I'm going to try to prime it, fuel system through the carburetor, get it to spray fuel, and see if I can get the thing to make a pass with that 600 on it the way it is. If not, then I'll have to rebuild that and go from there. But so yeah, that'll hopefully be the next video that you guys see, is a time, draggy time, and we can compare the 600 to the 750. Yay! Wish I had an applause sound effect. Some of you guys might be wanting to see that. I don't know. But that's pretty much it, guys. So switch back to these times so you can take a look one more time. Well, you don't have to rewind and go back if you want to see them. That's our fastest one right there. Hopefully it only gets faster. That being said, I'm going to get going, and I'll see you guys around next time. Get out there, do something to that car, truck, whatever it is. Have fun, try something new, something you wanted to try. Just do it and see how it works. That's how you're going to learn, guys. Thanks for watching. If you're new, want to like and subscribe, much appreciated. And leave a comment. Let me know what you guys want to see. And give me some feedback. Let me know what you guys think. 2/10 good enough for you guys for intake change? Yeah, that's all it really was an intake change. Yeah, the intake has some work done to it, but to be honest, it's nothing crazy. There's probably about 2 hours of, say, digging on that intake. It's nothing crazy. So it's not like the other ones here that are wildly done for max effort. This one was done pretty quick just to get it in and out. So alright guys, till next time, thanks again.